Hello and welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News today, 14th May 2026. Equivalent Islamic calendar, 27th day of Zulqa'dah, 1447 after Hijrah. I am Hamida Muhammad Idris. And headlines. President Tinubu says piracy eliminated in Nigerian water under Deep Blue projects. The government unveils nationwide free digital television platform June 17th. Troops of Operation Hadinkai arrest terrorists and rescue victims in Northeast. On the international scene, President Trump claims U.S. does not need China's support to end war with Iran. And sport update, Manchester City crashes Crystal Palace 3-0 in Premier League games. These are mornings will be coming to you in the bulletin. Thank you for joining and now the news in details. The government says piracy had been curtailed in Nigerian waters, attributing the achievements to sustained investments in maritime security infrastructure under the Deep Blue project. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made the declaration at the high-level roundtable on maritime sovereignty and ocean governance during the Africa Forward Summit 2026 in Nairobi, Kenya. Special advisor to the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Bolaji Akinola, who made this known in a statement, quoted Tinubu as saying the global maritime community has acknowledged the disappearance of piracy incidents within Nigeria's territorial waters, as well as the sharp decline in attacks across the region. He further added that Nigeria had recorded significant success in combating maritime crimes and improving security across the Gulf of Guinea. A civic technology platform that tracks and analyzes federal government spending have disclosed that the presidential air fleet received about 4.24 billion naira in disbursement between June and December 2025. The latest updates on Gulf spend also revealed that the disbursement made into the Presidential Air Fleet Naira Transit accounts operated by the Presidential Air Fleet State House were recorded in each separate transactions across 3 months of June, July, and December 2025, with the bulk of the transfers concentrated in July when 4 transactions totaling 2.43 billion naira were made in the space of a week. It was also gathered that 4 of the transactions carry no accompanying description, listed simply as known, a pattern consistent with previous disbursements to the transit account. Most disbursements to the Presidential Air Fleet Transit account are labeled Forex Transit Funds, typically funds allocated for foreign exchange requirements to facilitate international transactions covering expenses related to operations outside the country, including fuel purchases, maintenance, or services in foreign currencies. Nigeria has spent over 6.54 trillion naira on imported vehicles and spare parts between 2023 and 2025. The Director General of the National Automotive Design and Development Council, NADDC, Oluwemimo Osanipin, made this known at the opening of the West African Automotive Summit in Lagos State. He warned that the rise in import bill posed a major challenge to the growth of Nigeria's local automotive industry and underscores the urgent need to strengthen after-sales services, local capacity, and consumer confidence in locally assembled vehicles. Citing data from the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, Osanipin explained that Nigeria spent over 4.3 trillion naira on vehicle imports within the period, while total imports of transport equipment and parts jumped from 3.15 trillion naira in 2023 to 6.54 trillion naira in 2025. The Director General said the future of Nigeria's automotive sector depends not only on vehicle sales but also on the strength of maintenance services, spare parts availability, technical support, warranties, and customer engagement. In another development, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT Svtv, has dismissed the tumult over his visit to the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, the Samuel Wadda, saying he does not practice politics of enmity and owes no one a public account of his private associations. Wike, who spoke with newsmen during an inspection of ongoing road construction in Karu, Akpo, Karshi, and Kubwa, dismissed the controversy as misreading of a straightforward personal gesture between two former ministerial colleagues. The minister also disclosed that the visit was in fact a reciprocal one, noting that Wadda had made several unsuccessful attempts to see him at his office. Responding to questions about why no formal briefing followed the meeting, Wike maintained he was under no obligation to disclose the details of his private life or social interactions to the public, dismissing the notion that politicians belonging to different parties must keep their distance from one another. So in the news, the federal government says the long-delayed digital Svtv project is finally set for nationwide rollout on June 17, 2026, with officials describing it as a breakthrough for the country's broadcasting industry. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, announced this after a facilitator of the Nigerian Communications Satellite Limited headquarters in Abuja. He also noted that the initiative will transform broadcasting, advertising, and television viewership across Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. Idris stressed that Nigerians had waited for years for the transition from analog to digital broadcasting, adding that the process was now complete and ready for commissioning on June 17, 2026. According to the minister, the project will provide improved audience measurements for broadcasters and advertisers, enabling them to determine viewing patterns and make informed advertising decisions. Traditional radio attracts about 81% of in-car ads supported all their time among drivers, positioning broadcast radio as the dominant medium for automotive advertisers, targeting both loyalty buyers and constrained audience. A new analysis states that Edison Research quarterly share of air data reinforces a case for AM/FM's primacy, not just in the car but across all listening contexts. It was gathered that broadcasts ranked second for broad driver segment, followed by streaming platforms with single to mid-single digit shares. A pure TV strategy reached 41% of potential buyers, shifting just 20% of that jolt into AM/FM push reach up an additional 40% at no added cost, driven by radio's penetration among light and non-TV viewers. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television. Sultico, the news. Troops of Operation Hatinkai arrest terrorists and rescue victims in northeast Nigeria. On the international scene, President Trump claims U.S. does not need China's support to end war with Iran. On sports update, Manchester City trashes Crystal Palace 3-0 in Premier League games. These and more news will be coming to you after the short break. Do stand by. From that short break, and now the news continues. Troops of Operation Hatinkai have rescued 6 kidnapped victims, including a 3-month-old baby, during separate operations across the northeast Nigeria. Spokesperson for Operation Hatinkai, Lieutenant Colonel Sani Obani's statement said the troops also arrested 3 terrorist associates during clearance operations. He, however, added that coordinated operations were conducted under desert sanity near Amuda in the Mandara Mountains, following in rare interdiction mission and credible intelligence on terrorist movements. Uba further explained that the victims were among residents of Ngoshi community abducted by Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists during an attack on March 2026. The spokesperson further disclosed that in Kondiga local government area of Borno State, the troops also arrested a suspected terrorist associate, Hawa Bulama. So, on security, Defense Headquarters has refuted reports alleging civilian casualties during military air and ground operations in Zamfara State. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Michael Onoda, in a statement confirmed that the May operation was conducted by troops Operation Afansanyama in Tumfa village in Shenkati local government area of the state. He also described casualty figures circulating in the media as false, speculative, and unverified. Onoda further explained that the target was identified through credible multiple source intelligence as a meeting point for terrorist leaders planning attacks on communities in the northwest Nigeria. In another development, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Co. NSCDC has arrested one Mustafa Sani who produced fake fertilizers. The commandant of the state command of the agency, Sani Mustafa, during a press briefing in Gusau, announced the arrest and disclosed that two accomplices are so at large. He further added that Sani was arrested in Gusau, Ungwarda Latu area in possession of 550 bags of suspected counterfeit fertilizer loaded for distribution. Hantavirus is an infectious disease caused by a group of viruses mainly carried by rodents such as rats and mice. The disease affects humans when they come into contact with infected rodent urine, saliva, or droppings. Although the infection is rare, it can become life-threatening if not treated early. Standard Voice Television correspondent Charity Taylor filed this special report.
After the outbreak of the deadly hantavirus on the cruise ship Hondius, 4 German passengers are to be taken from Frankfurt am Main to Berlin, Baden-Württemberg, Bavaria, and Saxony. The World Health Organization (WHO) named some countries that have confirmed or probable cases of nationals infected by a hantavirus after the outbreak on the cruise ship MV Hondius. According to the WHO, the UN health body and certain national health authorities, among living patients, 6 cases have been confirmed and the 7th is listed as probable. The WHO said in addition, 3 people have died, with 2 of those confirmed as having hantavirus and 1 probable case. Other suspected cases and potential close contacts of infected people are being investigated, according to health authorities. It added that in Netherlands, 2 Dutch people from the ship died from the virus and a 3rd have been confirmed to have contracted it. A Dutch couple who had traveled around South America before boarding the ship in Ushuaia, Argentina on April 1st were the first fatalities. The World Health Agency said in Britain, 2 nationals have been confirmed as infected and 1 is classed as a probable case. Added that a German woman who had a fever on April 28 and later developed pneumonia died on May 2nd on board in the ship. Also in Switzerland, a Swiss man disembarked from the Hondius in St. Helena on April 22nd and flew to Switzerland on April 27th via South Africa and Qatar, among many others. The major cause of hantavirus infection is exposure to rodents or environment contaminated by rodents. People may become infected when they inhale dust contaminated with rodent waste, touch contaminated surfaces, and then touch their mouth or nose, or through rodent bites. Poor sanitation and unhealthy living environment increase the risk of spreading the virus. Symptoms of hantavirus usually begins with fever, headache, fatigue, dizziness, muscle pain, nausea, vomiting, and abdominal discomfort. As the disease progresses, severe symptoms such as coughing, chest pain, difficulty breathing, and kidney problems may develop. In serious cases, the lungs may be filled with fluid, making breathing very difficult. Currently, there is no specific cure or vaccine for hantavirus infection. Treatment mainly involves supportive medication care to help patients recover. Victims are usually placed under close medical observation and may receive oxygen therapy, intravenous fluids, and intensive care support to manage breathing difficulties and other complications. Early diagnosis and treatment greatly improve survival chances. Hantavirus remains a dangerous disease that requires proper awareness and preventive actions. Maintaining good hygiene, controlling rodent populations, and seeking early medical attention when symptoms appear are essential steps in reducing the spread and impact of the disease. I am Charity Taylor, reporting for Standard Voice Television.
Thank you, Charity, with that report, and now the news continues. Governor Siminali Fubara of Rivers State has refuted reports alleging that he has succumbed to the National Democratic Congress (NDC), insisting that he remains a member of the All Progressives Congress (APC). He disclosed this during an inspection tour of the newly constructed General Hospital and the fully remodeled hospital both in Rumibo, Ogiapo local government area of Rivers State. Fubara said the rumor was based on misinformation circulating in the media and on social platforms, urging the public to verify information before dissemination. The governor further explained that they warned against misinterpretations based on speculation, stressing the need for unity and focus within the party, noting that political interests should be guided by collective goals. Governor Ubatsani of Kaduna State has set up a consensus committee on party harmonization and aspirant engagement as part of effort to strengthen internal democracy, promote cohesion among stakeholders, and sustain party unity ahead of the 2027 general elections. The Commissioner for Information and Culture, Ahmed Miyagi, in a statement said the committee is expected to deepen mediation and constructive engagement among aspirants across the state while fostering mutual understanding, political stability, and consensus building within the party. He also added that the committee will interface with aspirant party leaders and other critical stakeholders with a view to facilitating amicable resolutions in consequences where multiple interests exist. Miyagi also pointed out the committee would also encourage voluntary withdrawals where necessary in the broader interest of party harmony and electoral success. Moving to the foreign scene, President Donald Trump claimed U.S. does not need Beijing's support to end the war with Iran and ease Tehran's grip on the Strait of Hormuz. Trump is in China for a high-stakes summit with President Xi Jinping. The U.S. president played down the role China could have in resolving the conflict, in which both sides have blocked maritime traffic through a waterway that normally carries 1/5 of the world's oil supplies. For about 1 month after a shaky ceasefire took effect, U.S. and Iranian demands to end the war remain far apart. Washington has called for Tehran to scrap its nuclear program and lift its shackle on the strait, while Iran has demanded compensation for a war damage and end to the U.S. blockade and a halt to fighting on all fronts, including in Lebanon, where Israel is battling Iran-backed Hezbollah. Iran, meanwhile, has appeared to firm up its control over the Strait of Hormuz, quoting details with Iraq and Pakistan to ship oil and liquefied natural gas from the region, according to sources with knowledge of the matter. Finally, to the sports scene, Manchester City kept pace with Arsenal in the Premier League title race with a 3-0 win over Crystal Palace on Wednesday. For the Arsenal's 1-0 victory at West Ham last week, and City came into the game 5 points behind the game Gunners. Although Pep Guardiola made 6 changes to his starting 11 for this game, they still dominated the visitors. Phil Foden was in form as he led on the assist for Antonio Semenoi and Omar Marmoush to score before half-time, while Savindo added a late third. City went 2 points behind Arsenal. Both teams have 2 matches left to play. In another development, Nigeria's Falconets have been pleased and plot but 2 ahead of the 2026 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup draw. The Falconets are among the 4 African countries that will participate in the biennial competition. Ghana, Tanzania, and Benin Republic women's national under-20 football team are the other African representatives. Moses Aduka's side will be making their 15th appearance at the competition, which will run from September 5th to 27, 2026. Finally, on the news, the top stories again. President Tinubu says piracy eliminated in Nigerian water under Deep Blue project. The government unveils nationwide free digital television platform June 17th. Troops of Operation Hadinkai arrest terrorists and rescue victims in Northeast. On the international scene, President Trump claims U.S. does not need China's support to end war with Iran. And on sport update, Manchester City crashes Crystal Palace 3-0 in Premier League games. That's Standard Voice Television Global News for today. On behalf of the production crew led by Ilya Adamu Auta, I am Hamida Muhammad Idris. Thank you for investing your time and staying with the news.